Well, it is now legal to possess small amounts of marijuana, heroin, and cocaine in Mexico. That country has now decriminalized possession of small amounts of those drugs. It's a move that creates one of the world's most permissive narcotics markets. Julie Myers-Wood worked very closely with Mexican authorities on combating these same drug issues when she was an assistant secretary at the Department of Homeland Security under President George W. Bush. She joins us now live from Washington, D.C. Julie, when you hear of this reversal in policy in Mexico, put in perspective for us what this does for the war on drugs. Is this a white flag, or is this an innovative way to undercut the drug lords?
Well, unfortunately, I think it's a little bit of a white flag. You are putting more drugs in the hands of more people and potentially creating a whole new class of addicts. People who might try heroin, if they're caught by the police, they'll be told, you should think about treatment. But if they say no, no problem. They can be caught again. In fact, they can be caught up to 3 times before they're forced into treatment. And that's troublesome. That's going to create new addicts out there on the street.
Well, Felipe Calderon, the president of Mexico, has been very harshly criticized domestically by some and faced pushback for his very much harsh crackdown on the drug lords in Mexico. So this seems to be almost counterintuitive to his efforts to undercut the warlords if, in fact, legalization does what you're saying it will do.
It really is. And, you know, I'm very sympathetic with what they're trying to do in Mexico in terms of fighting the war on drugs. And I think the Mexicans have been great partners in going after the Mexican cartels. But it just doesn't seem like a sensible approach to legalize small amounts of cocaine and heroin and to tell people if you're caught with it, we'll just give you another chance. And so that, I think, is a very, very risky experiment for the young people and adults in Mexico and in the United States.
Now, what does this do for prices? Because theoretically, someone could say, oh, well, by making the black market a little bit more mainstream in Mexico, you are, making it a little bit less profitable potentially for the drug lords to remain in business.
Well, because this experiment is so large, I think we'll have to see over time what it's going to do to prices. But the cartels are innovative. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them creating a just-in-time delivery method. Well, now you have lots of large-scale small dealers who only have in their possession small quantities. And then prosecutors have their hand tied. They may know these individuals are dealers, but they can't bring charges against them. And in the old days, they would have had the threat of prosecution under the personal charges, and now they don't have that.
Obviously, the U.S. shares a border with Mexico. What does this do to the trafficking here in the United States?
Well, unfortunately, I think you're going to see more people from the United States go down into Mexico to buy small amounts of drugs for personal use. And that's going to put a great deal of pressure on our U.S. Customs and Border Protection, as well as our Border Patrol agents, who are going to have to be looking for this and watching out for this. People are going to be drawn down to Mexico. It's opening up a whole new market for the drug cartels.
Well, the defense of Calderon's administration in doing this is saying because they're no longer going to be fighting drugs on such a small scale, they can focus on the bigger fish out there. Does this, in fact, help them?
Well, they can focus on the bigger fish without decriminalizing and without taking away that tool. And what I think is problematic is removing the ability of a prosecutor in a particular case to charge for small amounts of these drugs. They don't have to do it in every case. They can certainly already focus on the big cases, but now the prosecutors don't have that tool, even if they think it's necessary. I think Rudy Giuliani taught us that jumping turnstiles, prosecuting those folks, can sometimes be effective. Now Mexico is taking away that tool from itself.
All right. Julie Myers-Wood, former head of Immigrations and Customs Enforcement at the Department of Homeland Security, now president of Immigration and Customs Solutions. Thank you so much for joining us.